Hello guys and gals, welcome back to the land of gaming creepypastas. Not just any normal creepypastas, shitpastas. Yes, I know it's a little off schedule, but I'm back. Shitpastas are here. Once a month we always like to look at two shitpastas normally. And really try to see what we can, why they're bad and what we can try to see, how to fix them really. But that's really what this episode's about. So these two shitpastas I got right now is Red Tuesday. It's a Modern Warfare creepypasta. I know the standards are set incredibly high. And the other one is The True Horrors of Animal Crossing. So you know what? Let's just start right now into Red Tuesday. Not saying anything else. Let's go right into this creepypasta right now. Okay. Let me begin by saying that I'm a Call of Duty fanatic. I'm Karen Peterson, and I'm a college student at East Central College. I now tell you about my story of how I fell under the curse of Red Tuesday. See, one Friday on the 13th of October 2012, I was walking home from East Central with my friends, Reggie Wilson, Mike Tobin, Vanessa Brooks, and Preston Peters, when I saw this weird-looking Call of Duty game sticking out of the trash can near my house. I picked it up and read the title, which said, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Wrath of God. I grew increasingly excited and decided to invite my friends to my house and find out what the game was about. I got home, popped the disc into my Xbox 360, and sat down to play the game. Reggie hooked up his game controller and decided to be player 2, assuming I would play online multiplayer. First, a box popped up that said, the game may contain content that may be graphic and or disturbing to some players. Are you sure you want to continue? Below the box were two choices. I could pick yes or no. So I chose yes. The introduction was out of whack. It showed the Russian army shooting a Delta Force for like 15 seconds before going to the main menu. Then there were like three options: single player, 4-player co-op, and online multiplayer. I chose the co-op option and the entire screen suddenly blacked out for 10 seconds before an awful picture appeared. It showed Soldier that looked like someone scratched him really hard with a lit poker stick. The eyes were bright red and he was screaming the words, "Get out of here," repeatedly. The soldier was in Delta Force garb, but wore a US Marine helmet. I was startled by the weird and morbid pictures for a moment before the first campaign, Red Tuesday, began. See, my first reaction was, didn't they mean Black Tuesday? However, I kept going. The introduction was a faithful copy of the introduction from MW3's Black Tuesday, only Reggie and I had to rescue tourists instead of destroy a jammer. Then the most horrible introduction to any campaign began. I started playing as a Task Force 141 soldier named Anne Herefordshire, a British soldier transferred to TF-141 from the Special Air Service. I was trapped inside a huge cage with flames raging all around me. My character was tied to a steaming hot pole and tortured by two demonic creatures. One of them had red eyes, and smoke was trailing from its nostrils. It had a head like an ogre, but with leathery fingers with iron-hot fingernails. The other beast had a minotaur-like appearance, only with a furry lower body like a deer and a hairless upper body like a human. The first creature jammed a slimy object into my character's mouth and forced her to look at Captain Price, who was hanging upside down and being used as a punch bag by two other demonic creatures. Huge hands started sticking out of the ceiling and grabbing my character by the hair, who spit the slimy thing out of her mouth and started screaming for help when the screen went blank with the title in big red letters. Then the real mission began with the sound of whispering, and later, my entire room was plunged into darkness. I could feel Reggie and everyone else, including myself, breathing heavily. Then a huge light invaded the blackness, and before I knew it, I was actually inside the game environment. I was tied to a chair just like Alex Mason from Call of Duty Black Ops, with Reggie being chained to a wall, Tobin being trapped inside some Iron Maiden, and Vanessa and Preston being put in identical chairs on either side of me. I tried to say something, but I couldn't say anything. I looked around and realized my head was stuck inside some sort of apparatus that prevented me from talking. I screamed, but no one heard me except for a huge shadow outside. I screamed again, hoping that shadow, whoever it was, would come and rescue me. I looked down and saw green letters forming across the floor. What is this? I thought. A reality game show? Then I saw the title, Red Tuesday. Below the letters, I saw full name. Appearing, the location, which was a torture chamber in New York City, and the date, February 13, 2016. I screamed a third time for the shadow to come get me, and it responded by carefully unlocking a doorknob. The door opened and the shadow turned into someone from Modern Warfare 3, someone that I knew. I screamed a fourth time, and the shadow eventually revealed himself as Captain John Price. Sometime later, Soap ran into the room and said, "This is Bravo 6, we found the package, over." I suddenly froze. I was a package being held by the Russians, or Op 4, whoever I was fighting against, whatever. These men were sent to rescue me. Captain Price opened the apparatus, allowing me to speak again. I said, "Price, thank God! I thought I'd be stuck in that thing forever." Price just smiled as he undid the straps tying me to the chair and helped me to my feet. "Let's go," he said. "The inner circle won't be gone for long." So, the inner circle kidnapped me inside the game world. I felt kind of awkward not knowing this in the first place. Then 2 Russians, Nikolai and Yuri, entered the room, and Yuri gave me a M4 with ACOG, and the whole room suddenly exploded, and Shadow Company Roops began running into the room. I switched to my secondary weapon, which was an RPK, something, and began firing at the soldiers. Suddenly, Vladimir Makarov, remember, entered the room and told Price of a safe house that had the Russian army. Safe house? I thought Makarov was a bad guy. It seemed I forgot to check the back of the box to find any modifications in the actual game, because when he said what I heard him say, I was confused. I had the impression Makarov turned into a good guy in this game. The real bad guy turned out to be, as from what I learned, Solomon from Battlefield 3, which I've also played. Makarov then came to me and said, "I need your help, Karen." I was baffled, as I didn't know how he knew my name or if he had ever heard of me. Then I figured a hypothesis. Oh, here's a hypothesis I got. This was no ordinary first-person shooter. Then Price kicked open the door, and I was met with another guy from the Modern Warfare series, Gary Roach Sanderson from Modern Warfare 2. He said to me that I was assigned to protect Makarov's team, which consisted of Victor Reznov from World at War and Black Ops, Simon Ghost Riley from MW2, and James Ramirez from Modern Warfare 2, and Henry Blackburn from Battlefield 3. I was ordered to combat Shadow Company soldiers in New York City and rescue some tourists that had been kidnapped by Shadow Company. It didn't take me long to realize these tourists were actually people from East Central. First there was Raymond Peterson, my brother, Preston Winston from Calculus, and Alexa Makarova from Art Class. I was ushered into a gas 2975 and was ordered to use the DSHK machine gun as Makarov drove through the streets of New York. I began shooting away at Shadow Company soldiers down Wall Street as we approached the stock exchange. Boom! An RPG hit the vehicle and I was thrown out. I regained consciousness just in time to see 2 Shadow Company soldiers apprehending Yuri, who was being dragged into this total taxi cab, he stole it by the way, and beaten. Ghost and Roach were taken away in handcuffs, while Blackburn, Ramirez, Reggie, Vanessa, and everyone else was taken away in an MH-53 Pavlo. Captain Price tried to save me, but was apprehended upon trying to shoot at my captors. I was soon knocked out by a soldier's rifle, and half an hour later I woke in a torture chamber. I was inside a cage with my hands tied behind me. I tried to speak, but my mouth was sealed shut with glue. Okay, this is getting too scary for me. So I screamed through the tape for help, only to be answered by silence. I turned and saw Makarov chained to the wall in front of me. Just outside the cage were my fellow college students. Preston was dead, leaving Alexa and Raymond as the only ones alive. Right next to me, Vanessa was blindfolded and tied to a chair. She was unconscious. Meanwhile, Makarov had a plan of his own, and it seemed to be working. He broke out of the chains, peeled the glue from my lips, while one of his men rescued Soap and Price, who were kept in another cage just across the room. I freed Vanessa and helped her outside when, "Get down!" Yuri screamed. A helicopter slammed into the wall and the floor beneath me opened. Demonic hands began reaching for me and started to pull down. I was in hell, trapped in a cage like a prisoner serving a life sentence. Behind me, Makarov was writhing in a fiery pit while Soap and Price were being tortured in a cage with maggots all over the walls. Yuri was coughing uncontrollably while Blackburn was repeatedly being stabbed by a bunch of demons in front of Satan. In front of him, by the way. who was seated on a throne and laughing like a maniac. Then it was all over. I was back in my room with my friends, the TV was still running, and the screen showed the main menu of the game, which now had a message reading, "Congratulations, Karen, you've won the game. Would you like to 1. Continue the campaign, or 2. Quit?" I chose to continue, and then I heard Makarov saying, "You have been chosen to," but at that moment, the TV shut off. I ejected the game from the Xbox and collapsed on the chair, having no memory whatsoever about what happened to me in the game. To be continued. Red Tuesday. Okay, so this won't be like other crap from other creepypastas, even though I do it. You see, on here, let me tell you, I'm a big fan of Nintendo. I'm also a big fan of the Animal Crossing franchise. Anyways, let me explain the story to you with utmost fashion. My name is Nate Smith. I changed it so nobody gets my real name. I just got another GameCube for a nostalgic reason. I love the GameCube better than most Nintendo consoles. Don't get me wrong, I love the Wii and 64, but the GameCube is just awesome. Anyways, enough ranting. I remember playing Animal Crossing as a kid when I got the GameCube. I loved it and its cuteness of every character. Anyways, after remembering this, I decided to go down to one of my local game shop pawn stores to get Animal Crossing. I walked in and asked the clerk if he had Animal Crossing for the GameCube. He stated, "We have a few copies in the Nintendo bin over there to your right." I was happy about this. Very happy. And proceeded to the bin. I found some games I wanted to take as well, like Super Smash Bros. Brawl Melee and Custom Robos. I also only seemed to find one copy of Animal Crossing in the bin. I checked to see if it was okay enough to buy, and it almost seemed like it was brand new. I proceeded to the clerk and brought the games for a steal. When I got home, I decided to play Melee first. After a few hours of playing and unlocking a few characters I put in Animal Crossing, I was excited a bit. And when it was put in my screen, froze for a few seconds, stuck on the GameCube startup screen. I reset it a few times. After my 5th time, it worked. As I got to the title screen, everything looked normal. I noticed, though, when I pressed start, I saw Tom Nook with bloodshot eyes and blood on his pants for a split second. I was kind of scared, but it must have been my imagination. Anyways, as it started me off on the train like usual, but nobody was there. The train had no driver, and the person talking to me was one person from before. Being curious, I continued to speak to that person and made my character in town. I named the town Cherryville, and my character named Nate. I always name characters after my real name. As soon as I go for a house where there are supposed to be the 4 of them, there was only one. I decided to pick it as my house and waited for Tom Nook outside, but nobody was there. I walked in and out a few times, and there he finally was. Thinking this was a graphical glitch, I continued on. Tom Nook went on as normal, and after playing for a few hours, after working for Tom Nook and paying my house off a few times till I get the basement, this is where things became really odd. I went into the basement off my house as soon as it was upgraded because it took me forever to get it. I walked down there and it was terrible. There was blood everywhere, and a table in the center. It had straps and a few weapons near it. I was slightly scared because Animal Crossing is a kid's game and not like this. I did the stupid thing and walked towards the table. Suddenly the lights went out and I heard a slight scream. The lights came on and it was Tom Nook standing by the table with my character on it. Tom Nook said, "Finally, I get my revenge." The same thing happens all the time. Somebody moves here and takes advantage of my house sale business. My character stood silent for a few seconds and said, "What?" Tom Nook had replied saying, "It's time I take revenge and kill the human who moved here. I hate you humans. This place was sacred. You come here, shake our trees, and cut them down. We no longer have any fruit because of you." After he said that, he moved towards my character and the lights went out. When they turned on, my character had stab holes and a decapitated head in that horrid scene. After the lights went out again, but it didn't. Tom Nook looked at me, he stared at me with those bloodshot eyes and bloody pants, and he said, "You're next, if you move here." Suddenly my power went out and back on, and when I went to bed that night, I could not sleep very well that night, but I managed. As soon as I woke up, I was on the same train my character had been on. People who play the game get lured in, get played by someone else forcefully, then Tom Nook kills you. It's a never-ending trick. Tom Nook stood there before me on that train and said, "I told you, I will kill you next." The lights went out, and you could hear a blood-curdling scream for miles. This was Tom Nook and his revenge to players who kept abusing him. And what he does for people, be warned though, be very careful. Whew. Wow. What a return to gaming creepypastas. I mean, honestly, I don't even know which one is worse right now. Like, normally when I do these, when I do 2 of these in one episode, one of them is noticeably better than the other, and I like it because of the contrast. But damn, these 2 are really trying to outperform one another. I mean, shit. This is a brutal competition. But if I were to give the title, it would have to be Red Tuesday. I mean, damn, the Modern Warfare 3 creepypasta ends up coming out a little better. Let me explain, though. See, in Red Tuesday, it seems to have some elements of build-up, and the story is somewhat fleshed out. And, I'm trying to fucking be really nice right now, but, there's a way. You notice, though, that, like, 10% into it, it turns into some fan fiction combining Call of Duty and Battlefield into this weird combination where the bad guys are the good guys, and, with gun references tossed in, and, it literally ends up turning into a fucking parody with the most cliched things ever, reminiscent gore, blood everywhere, hands coming out of the ground, and the fucking demons. Oh god, the demons. With freaking Satan guest starring himself. Why demons? Why? Just make it about the game. You don't have to bring hell or demons into all of this, all the time. It just cheapens the experience in my eyes, and it glues all our faces to our palms. I know it's trying to be scary there in a sense, bringing these sort of archetypes into it, but it's just so overused that it's just not scary anymore. It doesn't really affect everyone in that way you're trying to intend. But wait a minute. Then everyone in the game, from someone in real life, from college, whatever, they're finally brought into the game too. And then the last part, holy crap, the ending. The person doesn't remember a thing, but, so clearly able to write this detailed journal events out. Again, it's not like the first time I haven't seen this, but here it literally tries to just play it off like that, and it's not, okay? Like, there's no way you're overlooking it. Yeah, there's a word for that. I'm trying to look for it. It's called bullshit. That's the word right there. Then comes the true horrors of Animal Crossing. Dear Lord, almost no build-up, nothing. The commentary tossing about not using the real name, that's cool and all, but that's not even the worst offense, which I'll get to in a bit. It literally begins with nostalgia boner, trip to store, Tom Nook going apeshit, killing in-game player, and then the weird part, which I think he killed a player since he woke up on a train, or it was just a nightmare. I don't know. Yeah, that's partially due to this creepypasta's technical and sensical mistakes. You might have heard me cringe reading this, and that was the original VO cut. Normally I re-record, narration sessions, as I read it just to get fleshed into how I'm going to do it. But I wanted to keep that original just to show you, like, how much I cringed, and it's there. You can leave it. If it gets taken down, I have screen caps of it, the entire creepypasta. In the end, I think the Modern Warfare one wins. Again, not by much, though, but when it does. Quite a feat. What would you rate these creepypastas, and what would you change to make it better? This has been another episode of Shitpastas, and if you like what you saw, then like, comment, and subscribe. By the way, if you're wondering what game I'm playing on the screen, this is Sanctum 2. It is a first-person shooter tower defense hybrid. Really awesome game. It's nice short sessions. You can get you and your buddies to play a game together. Really, it's a good game. Not like it, I picked it off the Humble Bundle a while back. I think it was the last bundle they had. But yeah, you can pick Sanctum 1 and 2 up on Steam pretty cheap. I think it's also on Xbox and PSN. But yeah, if you ever wonder what game I'm playing, I'll always mention in the beginning of the video, key it in the description, or sometimes I'll mention it at the end like this. So yeah, this is me, Mutahar, and I am out.